Well, good evening. You've joined us for round 3 of the British Cycling North East time trial, presented by Manilla Cycling. Again, the event's hosted by Adam, who I do believe is not riding this evening, just keeping an eye on proceedings and doing a bit of recording. Strong field, full field tonight. We had 100 people sign up for the event. Really good takeoff. The route for tonight is the Sand and Sikara route, which takes in 20.2 kilometres of a timed segment from one rock arch right the way around in a big loop back to the finish, with a 2.4 kilometre neutralised section straight into the start. 10 seconds to go. As you can see in the text on the right, everyone's been getting their excuses in early. I noticed Tim Fowler said he's done 60 mile earlier on, therefore he was going to put in a big effort again today. So we'll just take off with Lee Rook in there from Manilla. I'll just jump through the field with Howie Murray there. A man to watch, taking it steady on the lead in. Obviously knows this route pretty well. In his familiar all black kit there. Just settling into his rhythm. We'll jump forward to young Ben Etherington from Stockton Wheelers. A lot of these guys will know this route. It is quite a familiar route. Good turn out there, some good camera angles. Nice to see everybody on their TT bikes in one form or another. Yeah, we'll just jump up to Nick Priest from Manilla Cycling. Tis taking its there's young Sophia Brooks from Manilla. David Grant, Stockton Wheelers. Everybody's just deciding on how their tactics are going to play out. Are they going to go, let everyone settle through? We'll jump right the way up to the front of the queue, so to speak. Young old Newbury there from Manilla. Matthew Cole. Same front runners we seem to be getting. Fingers crossed next week we're going to have a bit of a duo commentary, and we'll have Adam Brooks actually commentating with myself as well next week. Bit of a duo. We'll be watching it live, and we may even live stream it as well, so make sure you've all got your hair done and your makeup on, ready for next week. Live stream on YouTube. Everyone's just steadily rolling in. 1.2k, another k and a bit to go. Drop back and join Steve Hanna, familiar grey jersey there. All these riders have all done their warm-ups. This 2k is just a rolling neutralised section into the start. Steve and his on his Celeste Cervelo there. One of the riders from Sub Rosa. And then Mark Hanson. On his S-Works with his Zip deep section wheels. Connor there. Quite a lot of triathletes in this event. Obviously the time trial discipline is works across both sports, cycling and triathlon. So we're just coming up now. There's a sprint segment here that starts just at them buildings they've just passed on the old ruins. It's a 500 metre segment, and it leads up to the arch, which you can just see in the distance over the left hand side of the screen. And that is the actual start point. These guys now just starting to build up. We'll jump back to the front as these guys will be looking to come under the start finish area. This is the start finish banner, so to speak, under the arch, and they're now out on course doing their timed segment. So they've got around about 20.2k left to complete the full lap. As you can see there, Fabian Drumpty's from NTR dropped his power right the way up to 4 kilowatts there, sorry, 4 watts per kilo even, and he's just sat there nice and comfortably. Chateau from Cleveland Wheelers took in a bit of a flying start there, and now he's settling into his rhythm. And then young Matthew Cole. We're starting to get a bit of a top 10 in the event now. We'll have a riders to watch for you next week. Give you a bit of an insight into these riders, how they get on. A couple of the insight into their results from last week. Mark Handsome there. Back to Owen Newbury from Manilla Cycling. Long, steady, flat section this first bit as they travel through the desert heading towards the Titans Grove King of the Mountains climb. Titans Grove, obviously, as we all know, is a very rolling circuit, and the circuit goes through there, comes back all the way around in a big loop to finish back under the banner, a bit more flat. I'll just have a quick look back through the field as we see the gaps are starting to appear. Steam train just coming past on the left. Hopefully it won't put any barriers down and stop these riders in their tracks. Still got quite a few juniors racing this as well. We'll drop back to Murray from Stockton Wheelers. And then back to Jason Shipton from Manila. Just tapping away 4.4k into the circuit, putting out 3.4 watts per kilo. Nice steady heart rate, steady cadence. And then just behind him we've got Nick Priest. We'll drop back to James Wilson from Manila. It looks like he's got Howie Murray sat right behind him. These two guys were in the top 10 last week, both for Manila, both very, very strong riders. Howie looks like he's putting in another big performance for Manila this week. I was just about to comment and say that one of the riders that we were missing from at the front of the race was Marcel Chabert from Darlington, but true to form, he's let everyone get away and then slowly reels them in. Marcel was up there definitely in the top 3 last week, I'm sure, and he'll be aiming to recreate that success this week. Just taking a little way through the oasis on the desert. Some nice waterfalls, lovely views. Jump back up the road a little bit there to Lee Ruckin. On his Canyon Speed Max. And he's chasing down Howie Murray, who's just in front of him by around about 3 or 4 seconds. Just up the road. There's Howie with his TT helmet on his TT bike. Nice steady pace, steady cadence. Got his deep section rim, and one of the only riders other than Marcel to be riding a disc on the rear, I believe. I haven't seen many riders riding the disc. Definitely not a problem with crosswinds. It's not something we suffer with in Zwift in Watopia. Drop back to Stehane. Steve's just being passed by Howie there, the flying Kiwi. And they're both being chased very closely by Marcel Chabert. So we're 7 kilometres into this TT now. There's Marcel, like I said, he's one of the only riders riding a disc. And that very flashy rear zip disc. Passing riders like they're just standing still. We'll jump forward a little bit. Mark Handsome there. 4.8 watts per kilo, 8.5k into the circuit. These guys will now start to see a little bit of vegetation around the edge of the circuit as they come out of the desert flats and head into the Titans Grove. It starts to climb as soon as the desert flats finish. It starts to slowly ramp up, and then you get rolling roads. There's the greenery ending, oh sorry, greenery starting there as they come into the last little bit. So we'll jump back a little bit. You see young Owen just coming past the petrol station there, just heading in towards Titans Grove now. And it looks like Marcel has passed Howie Murray. I think these two guys will duke it out right the way till the end. I'll drop back to Taylor there from VO2 Max. A lot of these riders now entering what we would consider the rolling section of the circuit. 10 or so kilometres into the ride, it starts to climb, and the rolling section starts. They then hit the Titans Grove King of the Mountains. James Wilson from Manilla just gauging his effort and his timing. And that's Whiteley from Cryogen. Quite a lot of these guys are northeast based clubs. Like I say, this is put on by Manilla Cycling from the northeast, and the event is hosted by Adam Brooks, team principal, and put together with the help of a few of the club members. If you are interested, there may be a few new events coming your way, so keep your eyes on the Manilla Fair Facebook page. You never know what more events we will be running. You've got the Alp in the distance there, the epic King of the Mountains. Drop back to young Ben Hetherington from Stockton Wheelers. And then the first time we've seen Harry Robson from TS Racing, put in a good strong performance last week. He'll be looking to recreate that again this week, make his way towards the front of the standings. Steve Hanna there just being overtook by young Ben White from Stockton Whalers. Quite a few of the NTR racers in here. Had a really good uptake from the NTR squads. Nick Priest with his dazzling pink socks on. And David Grant from Stockton Wheelers. These guys still coming through the desert flats, 10k's into this 20.2k race, so they're effectively at halfway now. Dave Jeffrey from Manilla Cycling, 10k's in. Vanessa Cox, somebody's just given her the thumbs up and a ride on. Much appreciated, these ride-ons when you're digging deep. And then young Matthew Best from Manilla, just heading through the 1960s, I believe, 60s or 70s psychedelic town. And we've got young Sophia Brooks from Manila. Obviously there's no yellow beacon this week because Adam Brooks is actually recording, so there'll be no yellow beacon for us to keep an eye on. We'll just flick back through these riders as these guys have approached the Titans Grove now and are doing the rolling sections, as we would consider. So these guys are up to 4%, 3%. Nothing too taxing for riders of this quality. Now we'll drop back to the front, towards the front end of the field, with Harry Robson, TS Racing, and Ben Hetherington around him. James Wilson from Manilla. All these guys, literally you could throw a blanket over them all. They're riding that close together. They're fast approaching Owen Newbury from Manilla, who's literally 3 seconds up the road, and then we jump in a big gap from there up to Howie Murray, who's again on his own, powering through 12.3k, so he's into his last bit of this race, the final 10k if you like. And we come into Zoppi there from Italy, approaching the dinosaur segment. There's Marcel there, just going through the Titan Grove, King of the Mountain at the bottom of that. So this is a 2.2% average, 2.6 kilometre climb. Nothing too difficult at all, but it is quite a long rolling climb, I would say, more than an outright uphill. Some beautiful views of the dinosaurs moving, and that very dazzling back wheel. There's a T-Rex in the background, as you normally get on a commentary section. Not very often you get to say that there's T-Rexes in the background. We'll jump forward to see where Matthew Cole is. Matthew Cole's just approaching the top, or towards the top, should I say, of the King of the Mountains. The weather's took a turn for the worse by the looks of it. It's coming a little bit foggy. Somebody giving him a ride on. That'll go into his back pocket. So we are now well over halfway through this TT. It'll now be starting to bite into the legs. This is our lead rider. It'll give us a good idea when he gets to the top of Titans Grove, King of the Mountains. We shall get a chart on the left hand side that will give us people's fastest times up there over the segment of this race. And we'll stick with Matthew until he gets to the top of that climb, just to give us an idea of what sort of pace we can expect from all these other riders. Matthew put in a good strong performance last week in the TT there. He's got Mark Hansom around about 34 seconds behind him. It's the first week that Mark's took place, and then we've got what you would consider a veteran of the event now with Marcel. He's done both previous events and this one, so he'll be right up there at the top of the standings, which are always available at the end of these videos once they've been edited up. Obviously the live raw version goes up straight away, and then the edited versions end up just after that. You've got Matthew Cole there of 4 minutes and 5 seconds up the climb. So we'll drop back now and we'll catch Mark and see what Mark does up that climb. He was around about 40 seconds behind Matthew, and then Marcel is another 30 or 40 seconds behind him. So if you look to the left hand side of Matthew's name there, he has a little jersey which denotes that he was the fastest up there so far. And Mark has just gone into second place. He was around about 20 seconds behind. So these guys are around about 8 minutes from the finish. Taking in a bit of a descent off the back of the King of the Mountains. And then Marcel just gone second quickest up the climb there, 4 minutes and 6 seconds, just half a second behind Matthew's time. Gives you an idea of how much these guys are out on the road. Obviously this is just their position across the start finish line. Doesn't take into account when they actually cross the start finish line to give us an overall time. Marcel has dropped his watts per kilo down a touch there. There we've just got Howie Murray has just crossed the Titan Grove King of the Mountains in 4:35. Zoppy went over in 4:43 and Chateau went in Cleveland Wheelers in 4:37. So we're starting to get a good idea of what our top 10 might look like come the end of this race. So Matthew still at the top of that climb. Harry Robson from TS Racing there, he went in 4 minutes and 38. So that gives you an idea, a rough idea of how this top 10 may look towards the end. James Wilson there from Manilla Cycling in 4 minutes and 45 seconds. So all these guys have been out on the road now for 16 or so kilometres. And then if you look to the right hand side there in the green list, you could see my name, which is effectively the start finish pens, and then they've got around about a minute or so, 2 minutes past that to get to the finish. And then you've got the back markers starting to come in to the list just above that. So they'll come down through these rolling roads, they'll turn right and then head back onto the flats, which everybody knows so well. They've been used in many TTs. We used them in our first series, the first race of our series. This is a six-part series. Six-part series with four races needed to qualify for the overall, and the top three riders from each team get points for the team classification as well. All of these results will be at the end of the edited versions of the videos, so keep your eyes open for those. They'll be here in the next couple of days. Certainly by Thursday or Friday we'll have them videos up. So we've got Matthew Cole there, he's just heading through the last little bit of Titan Grove. If you look onto the map there, he's got a bit of a twisty, windy section, and then he drops back onto the Fugo Flats. He currently holds a 1 minute gap over Mark Hansom, who is currently sitting second on the road, and then he's a further 30 seconds ahead of Marcel Chabert from Darlington Cycling Club. But like I say, these guys are not necessarily in this order at the finish. This is just the finish on the road. We'll take their times from their Strava segments from the arch to arch, which is where we get the results from. There's Chateau from Cleveland Wheelers, a further 40 seconds back on Marcel, and then Howie Murray a further 25 seconds back on him. It certainly looks very familiar, this top 10, or this top 10 finishes on the road, should I say. Much the same as last week, give or take a few riders. A few new introductions and a few missing. There's a Bladen Cycling Club rider there. Out of his saddle over the little hump. Drop back, closely followed by Harry Robson and Ben Hetherington from Stockton Wheelers. Harry Robson from TS Racing. We'll try and jump back to the front now and see if we can get a finish. There's Matthew Cole just coming under the Iron Bridge. So he has around about a K1.5, maybe 2K left to go. Obviously this is the second time under the bridge. It's now all flat right the way back to the stone arches. Lovely aerial footage there. Just have a quick check back and see if anybody's actually gone over the Titan Grove quicker than Matthew. No, Matthew does still have the jersey. If you look to the left of his name in the green list, it does still show that he has a little jersey next to him, which means he's took that jersey for that climb. He's just entering the Fugo Flats TT circuit now. If you watch the first race in the series, this will be very familiar with you. If you rode it, it will be even more familiar. This was the turnaround point for the second time, and then headed back towards to finish under the arch. The same finishing point that we're using for this route today. Matthew's been out the front pretty much all loop. I'm wondering if we're going to get a leaderboard. So he's just past the finish there for the 500-metre sprint finish. So he has around about 250 metres left before he gets to the finish of this circuit, where he can then take a long, well-earned break and then just sit and wait. That was his segment complete there as he crossed that line. So we shall get a time from his Strava segment. We'll watch. There's Mark Hansen just crossing the 500-metre sprint mark as he passes the Inca ruins on the right hand side and heads towards that arch, with Marcel hot on his heels, 20 seconds back. He'll know this circuit, he'll remember it from the first week of the series. Mark Hansen has just crossed the line there. He's eased himself right off. And Marcel just putting in a massive effort there. His final sprint finish, 600 watts, right the way to take him across at the start finish. We'll drop back, catch Howie Murray as he comes round for his final 500 metres. That house on the right hand side signifies the start of the sprint. 500 metres from that dotted line across the road. And we started up his power there. Just digging deep, putting in the last few efforts. And then Howie crosses the line there and drops himself. Into fourth place for the sprint section. So that leaderboard that we're getting on the left hand side is not for the actual full circuit, it is just for the sprint segment, the last little bit. Harry Robson there from TS Racing just coming up to finish his lap. And that is a list of finishers on the left hand side. Obviously this is the second time round. I'll drop back to catch James Wilson from Manilla. Just catching Hindmarsh in front of him. Will he catch him before the line? I don't think he will. But they'll both pass under the arch. And young Ben White from Stockton Wheelers. We've got S. Hamilton there, who's took a green jersey, so he's took a sprint jersey on the left-hand side. You can just see that next to his name. So he's taken this. I'm going to drop Lee Rookin, sorry, just coming in for his final 500 metres. And there's young Owen Newbury just coming round, approaching the derelict house on the right hand side. He will take his 500 metre finish. We have a quick flick back through. That's Jason Shipton from Manilla Cycling. Steve Hanna looking to catch the man in front of him before the finish. We'll watch Steve across the line, and that will about wrap up my coverage for this evening. So he has around about a K to go. Maybe he's just under. That list on the left hand side, like I say, is the 500 metre sprint from the ruined building, which Steve is just about to come past. There it is on the right hand side. He's going to catch the man in front of him, which is Mayo from Stockton Wheelers. So he's on his last 400 metres now. The previous sprint was 50 seconds for this, which was on their first warm-up section, or the neutralised section on the way out, so to speak. Oh, Mayo's not giving up his place that easy. Sat right behind Steve. Not sure whether he can take it back. Let's have a look. And Steve just crossed the line in front of him. So that about wraps up our commentary for this effort. There's David Grant just crossing from Stockton Wheelers. So that wraps up our coverage of this event. This will be on YouTube